Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathsala. Today, I'm going to talk about history of film industry in India. India is a film-loving country, and films are the most influential form of popular culture in India. Films are not just medium of entertainment, but they are also the aesthetic and artistic sense of Indians. Indian films are fragmented. India is producing films in more than 20 languages, and India is producing the highest number of films per year in the world. Indian film industry is producing more than 1000 films per year. So, this module will take you to the journey of 100 years of Indian cinema. So, let's start. If we talk about beginning of Indian cinema, that is back on July 7, 1896, a representative of the Paris-based Lumiere brothers presented the first cinematographic show at Watson's Hotel in Bombay. Only just 6 months after their first public screening in Paris on November 28, 1895. On July 14, 1896, that shows opened to Indians at the Novelty Theatre in Bombay. Talkies Raja Harishchandra set the genre of the mythological films in India. Mohini Bhasmasur, Satyavan and Savitri, Lanka Dahan, Khichavadham, Kaliya Mardan, Bhakt Vidur, Bilad Firat, Prem Sannyasi, some of the examples of the mythological films made in silent era from the different parts of India. To perpetuate the memories of the pioneer filmmaker Dada Saheb Phalke, the Government of India instituted Dada Saheb Phalke Awards in 1969 for the honor of the scene artists for their outstanding and remarkable contribution to the Indian cinema. The first recipient of this award was Devaki Rani. Al Johnson made the first sound film Jazz Singer in the USA in October 1927. Soon in March 14, 1931, the first Indian talkies Alamara was released, and it was made by Ardesh Irani. Ardesh selected Hindustani for the first talkie. Hindustani was the language of Bazaar and the most connecting language of the North India. The film had 7 songs, and the songs immediately proved hit. This established the song and dance as the integral part of Indian popular cinema. H.M. Reddy, the assistant director of Ardesh Irani, directed the first South Indian talkies Kalidas in Tamil in 1931. J.B.H. Wadia and his brother Homi Wadia of Wadia Movie Tone were popularizing the stunt films like Punjab Mail, Hunter Wali Ki Beti, Miss Frontier Mail. Prabhati Studio, in the direction of V. Santaram, favored the subject related to social progressiveness and dealt with the themes considered taboo like Amar Jyoti, Duniya Na Mane, Aadmi, Padosi are some of the examples. The golden era of Indian film industry started sometime around the last few years of 1940s, but came up in a big way only in the beginning of 1950s. This era has profoundly influenced generation of Indian filmmakers in a way that no other decade has come since. After the World War II, new financiers entered into the film industry. They made money during the war and steered funding films as they found filmmaking an easy way of gaining quick returns. This new system of financing movies ended the era of the studio system. The studio owners could not afford to pay high fees for their staff and stars. Therefore, they started moving to freelancing mode of return system, whereby all film practitioners were employed on a film specific contract basis. By the end of 1940s, studio system almost ended, and widespread freelancing system established by 1950s. With the popularity of cinema in Indian society, audiences started equating stars with their films, and a star cult phenomena started getting prominence over the other aspects of filmmaking. The faces of actors of a film widely recognized by the audience, and their curiosity about film personalities led the industry toward star system. Film stars become the celebrities, and audience started admiring and imitating their favorite star. The 50s was the rise of great directors of Indian cinema. Vimal Roy, V. Santaram, Raj Kapoor, Guru Dutt, Mehboob Khan were the legendary directors of that time and changed the fate of Indian cinema and took it to a new height. Directors in this era drew a wide spectrum of stories and their personal signature that made not just commercially successful films but also masterpieces in language of cinema. The foundation of the new wave cinema had been laid long before in 1942. Khwaja Ahmad Abbas, Dharti Ke Lal, Chetan Anand's Neech Nagar, Ritvik Ghatak's Nagrik, and Ajantrik and Vimal Roy's Do Bigha Zameen were the initial realistic films in India. But new wave on parallel cinema touched its height by the most notable Bengali filmmaker Satyajit Ray. Ray made his famous film Pathor Panchali, Apajito, Apu Sansar, which formed the Apu trilogy. These films were internationally acclaimed, including Cannes Film Festival, Berlin Film Festival, and Venice Film Festival, and frequently considered as the greatest films of all time. The transition of color and the consequent preferences for escapist entertainment and greater reliance on stars brought about a complete change in the film industry. This was an era of mediocre films made mostly to please the distributor and to some extent meet the demands of the box office. A sharp distinction can be found in this era between the commercial cinema and the meaningful art cinema. In this age, films eventually shifted to color. Greater reliance on star power and more emphasis on entertainment changed the revolutionary zeal and spirit of 50s to an escapist need for entertainment. K. Asif Ali's Mughal-e-Azam in 1961 was a blockbuster romantic tale with lot of musical numbers and became somewhat the formula of success. The decade of 70s and 80s were a period of politically troubled and a time of rising workers, peasant and student discontent. Films Janjeer, Diwar and the massive hit Sholay became the insignia of superstar Amitabh Bachchan and embodied him as angry young man that represented the anger, frustration of entire generation exploited by those in power. The popular Hindi hits of the decade includes Kamal Arohi's Pakija, Raj Kapoor's Bobby, Devar's Hathi Mere Sathi, Ramesh Sippy's Sholay, Janjeer, Diwar, Khoon Pasina, Yadon Ki Baaraat, Yash Chopra's Kabhi Kabhi, Dharmveer, Amar Akbar Anthony, Hum Kisi Se Kam Nahi, and Muqaddar Ka Sikandar. The new wave cinema that took birth in 1950s becomes a movement in the late 60s and 80s. In 1960, the government set up the Film Finance Corporation following the recommendations of the Film Inquiry Report 1951. FFC later on converted into National Film Development Corporation in 1975, contributed much in promoting and encouraging good cinema movement in India. Many of the directors were graduates of the Film and Television Institute of India, Pune. In the era of 70s and 80s, some filmmakers dealt with light-hearted stories of middle-class families, often in urban setting, focusing on marital and love relationship. This cinema is known as middle cinema. Directors like Rishikesh Mukherjee, Basu Chatterjee, Basu Bhattacharya, and Gulzar, and later Sai Pranjabi made films that appealed to the sentiments of the middle class. In this age, cable television entered into India. Free market restructuring carried out in Indian economy. This was the time when a stark upgrade was seen on the canvas as technology gifted the industry Dolby Digital sound effects, advanced special effects, choreography and international appeal. In late 80s and in 90s, musical love stories brought back to Indian cinema. Love stories along the lines of love and modern Romeo Juliet and belighted by their families again become the popular subject to Indian cinema. Movies like Qyamat Se Qyamat Tak, Chandni, मैंने प्यार किया, बाजीगर, टर, हम आपके हैं कौन, दिलवाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे, दिल तो पागल है are some of the examples. After mid-90s, as a consequence of globalization, revolutions in ICT and significant increase in the size of the Indian diaspora, Indian filmmakers have been making film keeping the diasporic audience in mind. Bollywood films like दिलवाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे, हम दिल दे चुके सनम, कभी खुशी कभी गम, परदेस, कल हो ना हो, कितने दूर कितने पास are the movies which made the crossover contact. The films हम आपके हैं कौन, दिलवाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे started the overseas box office for Indian films. Afterwards, Indian films followed a trend of releasing worldwide the maximum number of screens. When government eased the regulation in the process of globalization in 90s, foreign films dubbed in Indian languages started releasing in India. Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park was the first Bollywood film to be dubbed in India in Hindi, Tamil and Telugu, released in 1994. Film ran for remarkable 25 weeks and earned rupees 19 crore in box office. Unprecedented success of Jurassic Park promoted the wave of dubbed Hollywood film in India. The beginning of dubbed Hollywood film was a metro-centric phenomenon, but with the growth of multiplex and 3D film theaters, the dubbed version of Bollywood films in many Indian languages doing well in metros and Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Over the last few years, an increasing number of films in India have used the digital intermediate technology, whereby films are converted into digital format that helps in adjustment of image, structure and provides more control over the color. Hence, there are increasing instances of uses of animation, 3D, VFX and computer generated graphic images. It is also changing the content of Indian cinema by shifting from the single masala film genre to different genre like action, sci-fi, superhero and horror. In terms of production, digital videos are much cheaper than real based production. There is virtually no processing involved before the editing stage. The rapid proliferation of multiplexes and digital cinema theaters brought a major shift in Indian cinema. The first multiplex to open in India was PBR Anupam in New Delhi with 4 screens in 1997. After that, number of multiplexes witnessed an increase across smaller towns in India. Multiplex have shown a growth of 15% in terms of adding screen, increasing from 925 in 2000 to 2500 in 2016. Multiplex offers a different experience to cinema goers, for in most cases they are part of shopping malls, comprise theatre of different sizes, and multiplexes gave moviegoers a choice in terms of showtime and movies. Thus, small budget and experimental films targeting a small audience group could be released in multiplexes because ticket rates are much higher in multiplexes than a single screen theatre. This has given rise to what has to be known as multiplex films, that is, small budget experimental films on subjects which are not often touched on the mainstream cinema. Young directors like Nagesh Kukunur, Sudhir Mishra, and others, new talented filmmakers, have been able to make a mark thanks to the multiplex phenomena. The organized financing was found to be the biggest stumbling block for the development of Indian film for a long time. This problem has been solved when cinema was declared an industry in 2001 by the Indian government, and no sooner this happened than the gradual corporatization of the entertainment and media industry took off. This is helping Indian film industry in attracting private equity and venture capital funding from institutional directly. Hollywood studio like Disney, Fox, Sony and Warner Brothers, realizing the growth prospects in Indian film industry, and have entered into co-production deals with the distribution deals with domestic production houses. Hence, Indian film industry is increasing in size and scale, working on variety of themes and expanding portfolio with big, medium and small budget films. So friends, we have completed the module. Let's have the summary. Indian cinema has completed its 100 years from the very start of its first full-length feature, Raja Harishchandra. From that time, it has progressed a lot in terms of business, entertainment, quality, technology, even the audience, and it has contributed globally in global cinema world. Thank you.